Yeah, so we figured out that, well, I figured out the hard way that in order to get to 60 you have to just slowly build yourself up. So you can't just do a 60 metres, you got to do a 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. Once you're hitting some good 40s, that's when you've pretty much got your nervous system to a point where a decent trial at 60 is viable. This is one in the 3-week cycles that we program, which is a baseline one. So we're looking at around within 0.1, so a tenth of a second within your PB. So anything within that is like a good working capacity. So what we're trying to do to be consistent with it is get a good grouping rather than like hitting a PB or anything today. So that's not the goal. It's more like being within a certain number, which for me is anything 7.3 anything would be pretty good.
One thing probably worthwhile noting that you may look at when you're looking at sprinting videos online or thinking what's the best way to warm up is what specific warm-up drills you should be using. And I think the thing that we come to realise over time is that there isn't a specific set of warm-up drills that you should be doing. The warm-up that you should be doing should be super specific to yourself. So that does take a bit of time to figure out what your weaknesses are, what your tissue adaptations are that you need to work towards. But when you figure that out and you've done some sprinting will kind of tell you what you need to do on the track, or what you need to work on outside of the track, and then you can use that as part of your warm-up series. Right, so we've got the vests on, we've got the blocks out, and Chris has got his racing shoes on. That can only mean one thing: the warm-up is done and the sprint session is beginning. What are we doing first, mate?
Yeah, so we do some like steady 10s, and it's hard because you've got to get that mixture of being explosive enough to get a valid time, but also not going too much so you're fatiguing yourself. So this one's just about feeling the rep, feeling where your body feels in space. Obviously it's maximum 2 seconds worth of work, so for me it's about understanding where your body is. That's all I'm trying to figure out, what feels a bit off, where I'm trying to transfer my load, what feels a bit tight, and just generally going at about 80%, 85, 90. Then once you feel like you're firing, you'll go up to about, there's going to be 3 attempts at max 10s. The thing about this is, just for anybody who's interested in getting into it, you do need metrics for this. So this vest is going to get a top speed. As soon as I hit the cone, I'll be noticeably decelerated and not trying to accelerate anymore. That's going to tell me my speed. And what it is, every time I do a rep, ideally I want to go up by about 1 or 2 kilometers per effort. It's also going to be an indicator. The quicker I get up to 26, 27, 28 kilometers an hour on the 10, it's going to tell me where my nervous system's at and how the session's generally going to go.
Just building on what Chris was saying before, this part of the workout is like starting with the empty bar. So we kind of started with the empty bar in terms of a warm-up, and now we're maybe, say your max deadlift 200 kilos, so you're maybe going to start with 60 kilos on the bar and just get that feel out for the rep, and then you're going to go to 80 kilos and 100 kilos. That's what we're trying to do here with the cones and the vest, is just try and get a metric of what speed we're building up as we're going through the warm-up, until we kind of feel like we're at about that 180, 190 kilos, to use the reference of the bar. So that's going to be us like 90-95% of what we're going for in the session, and then we're really turning it on then, trying to get that explosive power and go into our main reps of the day. So I'm going to get into my next one now.
A few 10s done, they're feeling okay. You're just going off for like an average of what you're used to doing with them. So just added a cone in, going up to 20 meters. I've got a figure in my head, it's 305 is like an average of like you're performing well. On the shorter distance ones, like 10s to 20s, a lot of it is technique, so you know whether you're fine-tuning your technique or you're slightly off out of the blocks. So this will be an indication of what goes next. If it's above 305, then I'll need to refine technique. If it's below 305, I can go straight to 30.
So for me, for the day, because I've come in this week feeling a bit of a tweak in my hamstring and my hip flexor, I did say at the beginning that I was going for like a bouncier session where I was just trying to flow through the reps. I think what that's actually going to look like, and what we were talking about off camera, is going to be me basically trying to achieve about 90% of my max speed per interval that we do. So by the end of today's session, as long as I've achieved 32 kilometers an hour in the session, then that would have been adequate stimulus for me to have warranted coming to the track. God, bro, so you've just done your first 30.
Okay, so yeah, 30 today in this session. We've done 220s, 130. The 30 was a 30 metre PB, 4:13. Feeling not as springy out the blocks, but strong as soon as I can drive, which is reflecting in the times. So upright and drive face feels good today. So now we're going to go into the 240, so 2 active 40 metres where it's going to be max effort and see what happens.
Wait, but I've still got my 30 to go, so usually how these sessions go is Chris does a time, and then I'm going to do a time.
So Bond's got to get 4:12.
But I ain't going to be as quick as that.
Pause the video.
I was working out on paper yesterday, and my quickest combination of splits would give me a 4:11.
Okay.
So
Let's see.
it's happening today. So I did my 30 and I absolutely blew Chris out of the water. I got a 3:97, which is absolutely unbelievable. Is that unbelievable that it didn't happen? But the one thing that you don't know about us two is that I'm quicker and Chris is faster.
I'm a lot faster.
So Chris will always get better speeds the more distance we go. He's got a higher fly speed, higher max speed, but we always have a bit of fun in the first 10 to 20 metres. Yeah, reaction time. So Chris was hoping for a 5.2 today.
5.2. Ooh. Still saying I decelerated though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So 5.21 and
Big PB.
allegedly decelerating
Decelerate, yeah,
in the last 10.
And then, oh shit.
That PB?
Well, that's the speed PB, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So 36.6 kilometres an hour, which is the speed PB. So don't know what's going on with the free lap there. The free lap's doing free lap things.
Free lap PB.
Absolutely cooking. So Chris's honest reaction time, he said technically better but not quicker. So I've already filmed what we got. It was a 1.15, which is an absolutely blistering PB, and the splits are good too. So technically better is technically faster.
Technique is not for the weak. Wow.
I don't know about that. Well done, mate.
Okay, so I kind of forgot to put the app on. If you don't have the Freelap app open, it doesn't record your time. So I'm going to tell Bond that he just didn't get it.
Freelap doing freelap things, it didn't register a speed. I just want to say that I did the exact same with Chris and that it erased us. But my speed on the GPS vest, Lord save the GPS vest, was 35.3. So it's good having 2 bits of metric to get from the session. A stopwatch would suffice, as Stuart McMillan says, but we've got 2 bits of kit, and to say that I've come with trying to get a 95% effort today, that's got to be like 99.995 effort. I'm pretty pleased with that, and that's only over 40 metres as well. We've got 60s next, so maybe a gigantic PB. The peak.
240's done, 360s to go. Remember the date. With sprinting, you've got to apply your as fast as you can. So again.
There's no edits on this. I'm not editing.
No
keep going.
Troll. Okay, So with sprinting, you've got to try as fast as you can in order for it to be relevant to test your nervous system. So you can sometimes hit PBs, but you can't get attached to them. So a good session today would be good grouping. So yeah, I'd be over the moon if I hit below 7:29 on the 60, but ideally I stay within 0.05 of them for the next 200 reps. Good. So PB is 7:29, 7:31 for the rep 1 is really good, because you remember we got 2 sets left, so you gotta be careful not to empty your tank on the first time. But yeah, really happy with that. It felt really smooth, but I think I've got a bit more in the tank for the top end speed.
And actual speed on the GPS vest was?
Top speed was 37.26, which is just over 23 miles per hour.
Fast as fuck, boy. We're filming?
Yeah.
No point in filming that one, we didn't get any data. Felt like a good rep. For my PB's
46?
4.76, so who knows?
Who knows, okay.
Any words of wisdom?
Any words of wisdom? Sprinting is the best analogy for life ever, and I've just gone past the cone, which means I've fucked up my time. I'll see you in a sec.
So Chris's words of wisdom before that massive fuck up was sprinting.
I think it's one of those bloopers like, take 2.
There's an analogy of life, and then he went past the
Don't rely on technology.
Don't rely on technology.
Don't rely on technology.
There you go.
Now what I was going to say...
Is that the title for the video?
Yeah, probably. What I was going to say is, and this is probably directly from Stuart McMillan, everything we say is basically Stuart McMillan.
Can't say that.
Okay, it's not. But it's about learning how to be very rigid and fluid at the same time. Think about it. You've got to be really strong and powerful, but relax and be fluid at the same time. Very difficult to do.
Let's get it!
So last 60, 7:42. Again, the top end that I was looking for today was 7:39, so just slightly out of that. But this is why it's so important to get a good work capacity base, because that's going to affect the average. So my first one was 3:1, then 3:4, now 4:2. Average is going to bump up into the high 30s now for this session. So for example, say you go to the track and you're right, I'm going to do 5 sets or something, or you think higher volume is better. If I was to do another rep now, it would 99% likely to be slower. So it's about getting a good base and a moderate volume to begin with, which some people it might be 2 sets, some people it might be 3, but remember it's quality over quantity. So that's when I know I'm done, recover, let my body adapt, because next week is much harder, because I'll be doing 4 all-out sets instead of 3. So that's where the adaptation will take place.
Yeah. So last 60 of the day for me, it's time to do what I said I was going to do all session, which I did not, and get relaxed and flexy, bouncy. Yeah, so just resetting the free lap now, because it's doing free lap things again. I'm going to get after it. We've already had a speed PB today actually, 35.49, which, well, it's not as fast as Chris, is 22 miles an hour, so pretty quick.
Stay flexed, stay flexed. Yeah.
Yeah, so session debrief, let's wrap it up. We got 360s in. I hit a PB on top speed, which is great. It wasn't a PB in terms of time over the distances, but coming to the track with what I had today, I'm more than happy with that. Last rep intention for me, I felt like I hit it. Got the technique that I wanted to, nice and relaxed, nice and poppy down the track, and had that posture that I was looking for. Chris had a great session too. We're about an hour and a half worth of total work, including the warm-ups, so I'm quite happy with that. Let's take...
Yeah. It's the same again, like obviously, jokes aside, it's what I want to kind of emphasise to people is that it's really easy to get fixated on times, and it's something you have to max out. So it's a bit like to get better at sprinting, you have to do maximal effort, which is like going into the gym and say you have to 1 rep max all the time. So there is obviously a difference there, but with mine, I judge a session by the grouping, which is probably about 737, 738 in terms of my 60s together. So you're taking the average of them, which is okay. I let myself down with the last rep, but that's either a fatigue thing or just wasn't pushing hard enough. But again, it's just making sure you apply that to the next session.
So if we're going back to talking what we were talking before about at the beginning of the session, we identified this fairly early on and used the analogy of like archery. It's that tight grouping over the course of the session, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where we're basically looking for, rather than getting one bullseye in the session and a load of 6s and 7s, we're looking for a consistent group of 9s and to bump that overall score up.
Yeah, repetition of technique basically.